Now, this is what most people find difficult, is trying to stick to a diet when you're trying to go out with your friends, especially if you're going out to a party or maybe just hanging out at a cafe or even if you are going to a restaurant. Like, how do you stick to a diet in these times and not end up eating unhealthy food? I know it sounds close to impossible to try and stick to your plan and continue to eat clean. Because something or the other is very tempting, and we are trying our best to not get tempted and not cheat. But if you are in a situation like this, what do you do? Well, don't worry, because if it's a pub or a cafe or even if it's a restaurant, I'm going to help you with some very cool, no nonsense tips and tricks that's going to help you navigate through all of this without ditching your goals. And these tricks that I'm going to show you are tricks that I myself follow when I'm in a situation like this. So if you feel like you're tired or stuck in between trying to stay on track with your health goals and also wanting to go out with friends, then you're in the right place. So what I'm going to share with you will just end all that drama. And the best part is that it works. Now, the very first thing that I want you to do is put yourself in a situation like this. Imagine yourself going to a concert. Now, you and your friends have planned to go out to this concert. And you know, when you go to these concerts, you have like a lot of these stalls which have a lot of tempting snacks in them, like burgers, pizzas, nachos, and everything that's super tempting and tasty. Now, if you're passing by these stalls with an empty stomach, what do you think is going to happen? Your stomach is going to immediately give you a signal that it's very hungry. And at this point, your brain is not going to process the fact that you're looking or you want to eat healthy food. It just wants to get enough to satisfy the hunger. And your brain is not going to think of these health goals because right now it's only going to think of one thing, that is to fuel your body. So, what's the best way to get away with this? Well, it's something that I do every time, and that is pre snack or pre eat a meal before going to places like this. And I'll tell you why you should do this and why it works. So, I want you to think of your stomach like a beast. And when it's hungry, it has the biggest roar you can ever hear. And at that moment, it will roar for the biggest and the cheesiest thing that it can see in sight. And the most healthiest food will always be ignored at that moment. And you might have noticed this yourself almost 80% of the time, that when you're really hungry, you never end up choosing the healthiest option. But you choose the food that is the most tempting to your senses because you just want to satisfy that hunger. But you can tame that beast with something simple like maybe a healthy snack, which could be a handful of nuts or even a piece of fruit. Anything that could take that edge off that hunger. Or sometimes what I do is try to eat a home cooked meal before I step out so that I'm not on a full on hunger mode. And when you do something like this, it's very unlikely that you'll go to a restaurant and you'll really order everything unhealthy. So even if I enter a restaurant, I'm less tempted to make the wrong choices. So the healthier choices on the menu start looking a little more appealing. And trust me, you just end up making better choices. Now, the next way is a Superman trick, is what I call the menu maneuvering. Yeah, it sounds very complex, but it's not. And to put it in simple words, just think you're out with your friends or you're trying to check out this new place in town. So this could be like a very cool pub or the newest restaurant. Now, you and your friends are all pumped to see this place and try out the different dishes. And when you open the menu, you see like these big burgers, which are as big as your face, and they're loaded with all the good stuff in it. So before you look at that and get thrown off guard and really worry about what are you going to do now, one trick that I always do is check the menu before you even go to the place. The best part is that in today's time, a lot of these menus are online of many new restaurants or places like cafes and coffee shops, so it makes life even more easier. So what you do is you open this menu, which is like a treasure map, and your quest is to find the healthiest option in that menu. And once you figure out what that option is what you go to the restaurant and make the choice. So the whole trick here is basically choosing what you're going to eat beforehand. And if you think about it, you won't jump into playing any game without knowing the rules of the game, right? The same goes with trying to tackle a menu. So what you can do is just scope out your options, look for grilled items, salads, or even maybe a killer veggie dish. And doing it this way, when you're sitting on the table, you're not overwhelmed and you don't end up ordering the unhealthy options. In fact, you will be well prepared. And when you go to places like this, they always have appetizers and your main courses and hundreds of other things. The best way to start is to start with something that's light, like a soup. So when you start with something like a soup, it will fill you up a little more faster and you'll not end up eating a lot of those appetizers and the calorie heavy food in your main courses. And the best part is that if you have a soup at the start of your meal, it will reduce the craving to have more food. So, checking the menu online and making your choice before you even reach the place, you eliminate the pressure of making impulsive decisions. It also allows you to approach the menu with a clear plan, avoiding all those hasty choices that you could have taken which would not be in line with your dietary goals. So, when you check the menu online and you menu over through it, it arms you with the knowledge of choosing healthier options of food, and it can also give you a very positive dining experience, and at the same time, you can enjoy with your friends. So, you're not feeling very uncertain or pressured with making decisions on the spot. Now, if you're at a place where music is playing and your friends are enjoying and you are having a great time, but there is this little voice in your head that's going to tell you that, what about your drink choices? Well, this is something that I do, and I call it the beverage brilliance. So, most of the time when you're out with your buddies, most of them will order a drink. And the drinks menu is very long. It's almost like the Great Wall and it's never ending. So you have those tempting cocktails and mocktails and those high sugary drinks and everything under the sun in that menu. Now, instead of just directly diving into this whole sea of options, do this first. Hydrate, then celebrate. And this trick really works because what you're going to do is you're just going to have one glass of water before you even order your drink. You'll realize that the moment you have the glass of water, your craving for a drink will almost get reduced by half. And even after that, if you want to have that mocktail or so, you won't end up repeating that mocktail as many times as you would without having that glass of water. So you start with water, yes, water. But not only does it keep you hydrated, but it also helps you control how much you eat. But anyway, once you've had your glass of water, you can go ahead and enjoy your drink of choice. And if you feel like or you're craving to have another drink, then have another glass of water and then see if you really want to have that drink. Most probably, your stomach will not give you the signal that you want to have. Or to try and put this in a little different perspective, just try to have 2 glasses of water for every drink or mocktail that you want to have, especially if you're the person who loves indulging in drinking. And also, the moment you try this, you will notice the difference. Now, let's say that you've ordered something and a dish has arrived, and most of the time, the dish that has arrived always looks like a piece of art. Because when you go out, they always make the dish look more visually appealing. And most of the time, it's so appealing that you want to eat it quickly. And then you'll want to order something as visually appealing as that. But one hack that you can do for something like this is what I call flavor focus. Now, for example, you're having something Mexican, and if you look at the bowl, it will have a lot of flavor and spices, and even like a hint of lime, and so many other veggies and different things. So instead of just eating it and just gulping it down, take more time to chew your food. So try to taste all those spices, the flavors, and every part of that food. But now you might be wondering that how is this going to help? So by chewing slowly, your stomach has all the time to process and understand the food that's coming, and it will give you a signal to your brain much quicker that it is full. So when you chew your food slowly, you're not just relishing your meal, but also your stomach ends up sending a signal to your brain much quicker that it is full. So you don't end up overeating as compared to gulping your food down. And eating your food slowly is also been proven by science. So well, it's not about you just eating or chewing your food slowly, but it's also about relishing and being more mindful about what you eat rather than just gulping it down. Now, one of the main highlights, which I think for every meal or any place that you go, is a dessert. Now, how do you not have a dessert? Because I have the toughest time saying no to a dessert, especially because I'm a sweet tooth and I love anything that's sweet. And many a times the dessert might not be tasty, but it's always so visually appealing, especially when you go out to eat, that it's very difficult to say no. And I completely know the struggle for other sweet tooths like me. So for some who have the willpower to say no, well, that would just do it. But if you don't have that kind of willpower, well, there's another trick that I can show you. This is what I call the dessert division, and this is how it works. For example, if there is a chocolate cake that's staring you down and it looks very hard to resist, here's what you're going to do. Take a bite of it or a forkful of it just to savor it and share the rest. Because as much as desserts can be tempting, it's about enjoying that sweetness without feeling like you've overindulged. So by just taking that bite and sharing the rest, it helps you engage in effective portion control. And in a way, I know it's quite difficult to follow that, but in the end, you get to taste the dessert, you also don't end up overindulging, and you also get to spend really good time with friends. So this helps you prevent consuming large portions of that dessert, which would add up to that extra calorie intake, which would not align with your goals. Plus, the best part of sharing a dessert is that it will reduce the feeling of guilt which is always associated when people indulge in sweets. So, a lot of you, just for that one bite, you will not end up feeling as guilty as you would if you might have had that whole portion of the dessert. Plus, it also helps you enjoy that food without having to compromise on your goals. And in the end, sharing your dessert also just feels like shared enjoyment with your friends. But dividing your dessert or dessert division helps you with that experience. And if you're out for a very long time, there will come a moment where you'll want to have a proper meal. More because your hunger has slowly started kicking in because of the long gap. And your hunger gets a little bit too much. And at this moment, you want to eat a full meal. Now, I have gone through a lot of times like this, and this is what I exactly do. I think of my plate like an artist's canvas. So I let half of my plate take up the proteins, and the other half take up the veggies and carbs. Basically, what I do there is try and create a food masterpiece. So you can have some grilled items or a Mediterranean cuisine or even some vegetable curry with brown or red rice. Just remember that try to load up a lot of veggies and a lot of protein. Now, if you're wondering why does this work, it's like a built-in portion guide that just turns that plate into a nutritional work of art. So not just going to randomly throw things on that plate, but you're going to eat very mindfully. And all you've done by doing this is crafted a very balanced meal for yourself that hits all the right notes rather than going very berserk with all those different items and sauces. And here is a bonus tip that in case you've indulged in something too much, remember to not feel bad about it and not sulk that, oh, I've eaten too much and this is not done. Just get back on track the next day. And make sure that next time you're more conscious with your decisions, whether you go out with friends or family or anyone for that matter. Making smarter and healthier choices takes time, so don't be too hard on yourself. And in all seriousness, remember that most of these choices and these hacks are very conscious decisions, especially if you have health goals or dietary goals aligned or any kind of fitness goal. So if you like what you saw, check out any other videos on this channel. And until we meet again next, don't stress and be awesome. Roger that.